Hey guys, it's Bub here, and in this video we're taking a look at an ISO that was recommended by one of you guys. In this video we're taking a look at Windows XP Retrophase. Windows XP Retrophase is a mod of Windows XP that makes Windows XP look and feel like Windows Whistler Beta 1. I'm very eager to take a look at this because Windows has always had such an interesting development history, and Windows Whistler is no exception. So this was again designed to make the original Windows XP feel like Windows Whistler. So let's go ahead and get into it. Unlike a lot of the ISOs we take a look at, this ISO was only 590 megabytes, I believe, which is really nice because a lot of the ISOs we take a look at are based on Windows 10 or 11, and they're like 6 gigabytes. They're absurd how big ISOs have gotten. So it was a nice relief to see a simple 500 or so meg ISO. Alright, and we are just in the regular Windows XP setup, although it does say Windows XP Retrophase at the top, and unfortunately, it did not detect any drives in our computer. This is probably because by default VMware does a SCSI drive, and for some reason some versions of Windows XP don't like that. So all I do to fix that is just go in and we make an IDE drive on the device, and it should pick up the IDE drive once it boots up. Yep, let's go ahead and try this again. Looks like it picked up that IDE drive. We're going to go through and format the drive as NTFS quick because it's a blank drive, it has nothing on it. Once the drive is formatted, it should begin to copy files over, and then once Windows XP does its thing, we should be booted into the XP Retrophase out-of-box experience. And here, after the first reboot, we see our first bit of customization from this operating system. The Windows XP out-of-box experience obviously did not look like this. This has that Windows Whistler theme with that nice kind of sky blue as well as the older Windows logo. It just overall looks so nice, and I really do like the Windows Whistler theme. So as this continues to install, we'll be back once we have some sort of prompt to continue. Alright, and here we are. So we are going to go ahead and continue through the setup. I'll just name this Windows, and unfortunately, the one thing I don't like about these Windows XP ISOs is that they ask us for a product key. So now I have to go dig this up. I have no idea what I'm going to find for this. Alright, that was surprisingly easy to find an ISO. It was just a regular Windows XP SP3 volume ISO, or product key rather, that I had to find. But once I found that, it was one try, which usually never happens for me. I usually have to continue trying different product keys to get them to work on custom mods like this. So now we've continued through the setup. It's going to go through, finish copying files, finalize the install, and then we should be in a desktop that we can review and evaluate this ISO. Alright, and here we are. Welcome to Windows XP. You can see we have our little iconic wizard, as he's always in a lot of our ISOs that we look at specifically with XP. Nothing looks too abnormal so far, just going through. We don't need security updates, we don't want to register or connect to the internet. We'll go ahead and name our account Windows, continue, and that is it. We can hear the Windows 2000 startup sound, and here we are. Wow, this really looks like Windows Whistler. I'm going to go ahead and get VMware Tools installed, and we'll be back once we have a better viewing experience for you. Alright, and here we are on the desktop of Windows XP Retrophase. The first thing we're going to take a look at here is the desktop icons itself. So by default we have My Documents followed by My Computer that we can see it is showing as just Windows XP here. It doesn't say Windows XP Retrophase. Then My Network Places, pretty standard. Internet Explorer, which it's going to make us do the new connection wizard, blah blah blah, go through MSN, all that fun stuff we don't have time to do. And then lastly we have that classic Windows Media Player that we actually saw in last week's video about a Windows ME mod. Moving down, lastly we have the recycle bin, nothing too out of the ordinary there. Moving to the taskbar, we have our typical calendar, followed by Windows security alerts telling us that we don't have an antivirus installed. Next we have the safely remove hardware. That's a new icon. I've never seen that one before. We also have it stuck on the taskbar now. So there we go. I went ahead and cleared that. We have our volume slider. Lastly, we have VMware Tools, which is something I put on to make the viewing experience better for you. Over on the left side of the taskbar, we have our, if we pinned things to the taskbar, they would show up here, but we don't have anything. And then we have the start menu. I really like this start menu. I like the whole theme of Windows Whistler in general, and I wish it would have been an option for Windows XP. You could have either had Luna or you could have had Whistler. In this start menu by default, we have Internet Explorer, the Outlook Express, which is probably Outlook Express 6 or 5. Probably, yep, it's 6. I figured as much. Then we have Windows Media Player, Set, Program Access, and Defaults. On the right side, we have what we would typically see, nothing too crazy. My documents, my recent files, my pictures, my music, my computer, control panel, help and support, search, and run. Moving into all programs, or more programs rather, we have the Windows Catalog, which tries to take you to a website that doesn't exist. Then we have Windows Update, which is also a website that no longer exists. Then we can move into kind of the good part, the accessories. So nothing too out of the ordinary, things that we would typically see in Windows XP. And of course we have games. So we have our internet checkers, all this stuff, where these were actually shut down in, I believe, 2020. Obviously they no longer work, but I think they shut them down in 2020 just because, let's be realistic, who was playing Internet Reversi or Internet Hearts on Windows XP in 2020? Then have system tools. The getting started is customized specifically for Windows XP Retrophase. Moving down, we have calculator. I only wanted to open it because the icon looked different, but no, that looks like a regular Windows XP calculator. Then we have command prompt, notepad, paint, program compatibility, RDP, which it's nice to see that the RDP window hasn't really changed that much in the last 20 years, considering that the only thing that's changed is the logo. And continuing down the start menu, we have Synchronize, Windows Explorer, Movie Maker, and WordPad. Moving down, we see we have Startup, IE, let's see what version of IE we're running. Yep, IE 6, typical for the time period. Then we have MSN Explorer, Outlook Express, Remote Assistance, and Windows Media Player. Let's take a look and see at our CPU and RAM utilization. Again, remember that this is Windows XP, so we shouldn't be seeing anything too crazy. And just as I expected, we're only using 153 megs of RAM out of 1 gig, and then barely any CPU, typical for what we see with Windows XP or Windows XP or that time frame. Let's take a look at storage. So again, we have a 40 gig disk, and out of that 40 gig disk, we're using 2.6 gigabytes. Man, I really wish modern versions of Windows only took up 2.6 gigabytes. That is crazy. And while we're in File Explorer, let's take a look at this window border. So we can see that it does have a nice square blue border around the entire thing. But the one thing that really stands out to me is this gradient. So it starts as a light blue and kind of fades into this 2000s like transition with these squares that I really like. And then it's like a darker blue. I truly do like this. I love this theme. It is amazing. So with that being said, this is just a high-level overview of Windows XP Retrophase. Definitely let me know what you think down in the comments below about this OS. And if you have any other ISOs you want me to take a look at, please let me know in the comments below because I love doing viewer-recommended videos. With that being said, see you all in the next one.